Hello, humans.
I wasn't expecting us to be that in sync. Hello, everyone. We are back. We are chilly.
I am warm because the downstairs in this house always cools up faster in the summer and heats up faster in the winter. It's been a
My,
180 sort of day, hasn't it?
it's been a hibernating sort of weekend. My God. My room is the opposite of your basement in that it is always the hottest or coldest room in the house, whichever I don't want it to be.
Right.
Um,
I'm
but
sorry.
coldest is better because I can put on more clothes. I've got a space heater. I can get under blankets when it's hot in here. I mean, I can't take off my skin, and I'm also limited. I work like a foot that direction.
Yeah, you can't just strip down naked and get damp and then evaporate, which is usually my overheated solution.
Yes, not ideal during the workday. I have been informed.
What's the old joke? They say that if you eat naked in front of a mirror, you'll consume fewer calories. It doesn't work. And on a side note, I'm no longer allowed in Target. Little bit of shout out. My hair was achieved by Tiffany at Tiffany's Parlor in Denver. Go there if you want to have your hair done well by an awesome individual.
It looks beautiful.
Thank you. And today's my birthday. And
happy birthday. For those who were not here, which is everyone except us, I sang the birthday song already, and also Robin and I do not have the same color hair. It's just the lighting.
Lighting is tricksy that way. I wonder if my painting light will reveal hitherto yeah, see there.
Oh yeah. Oh, I like it. I feel like she did a lot of like highlights and lowlights and stuff too, huh?
Hell yeah. It's mostly chestnut back here and then burgundy, and then there was a little bit of pink. It's kind of salmony. I like it.
It's beautiful.
It's not a flattering light, but I'm going to use it to paint. I have not finished rubidium, but I do have some exciting news on the front of the paintings. We went to Pikes Perk, and I was like, what's the owner's or the person I talked to about getting my art on the wall, what's his number again? And they're like, he's right here. So they brought him out, and I showed him all of the pictures on the phone and told him what the project was, and said that their wall, because they have this one long wall, I was like, that's big enough for all of it except for the rare earths, which I haven't even done yet. I'm 25 paintings short of finishing the rest of the main body. And he was like, well, how soon can you get those done? And I was like, January, if I try real hard. He was like, how about you be the New Year's show, and we'll just put up a sign saying to follow the rare earth progress. Like, if you like this, here's the artist, here's their Instagram, here's what they're still working on. And I was like,
Yep. Don't mind if I do.
Exactly. TLDR, I'm gonna drum up some hype before I even get to the point where I can make the cards, because I want hype. I've got friends and family, and you are all a part of me. But beyond that bubble, I'm painting into a vacuum, and I can't feel like that. It's very draining. Like, I am not an island. So if we get people who don't even know me interested in the project, that would be the ultimate.
Excellent. Well, that sounds awesome. I'm very excited.
Yes. I did the math. I need to paint about 2 hours a day every day between now and then to get that done, which wouldn't be hard at all if I wasn't homeschooling. As it is, it's going to be kind of a bitch.
Mm-hmm.
But
a little bit.
Yeah, that's okay. I tend to default to helicoptering on the poor kids. So if he and I could arrange things so that he was working independently from me for those 2 hours, come to the table and work next to mommy while she paints,
It's probably a win for everyone.
Exactly. Oh, we've got epic things planned for Halloween. We've got our little pod. We're gonna dress. The kids will get to dress up in costume and have Joey's making a haunted house, and I'm going to hide Halloween candy filled Easter eggs, and then we'll have a pizza party with face painting and a movie. So I think the kids are going to remember this as a good Halloween.
That sounds delightful. Honestly, that I would have been happy with that as a kid.
Right?
Like, I still get my candy. I didn't have to go out in the cold.
Yeah.
And pizza.
Pizza.
Yeah.
Movie friends. Abby hates the idea of a haunted house, but he and I can skip that one.
I was gonna say he doesn't have to go. I hate haunted houses too. I just like, no thanks. Haunted houses and horror movies. Someone asked me the other day at work, "What's your favorite genre of horror?" And I was like, "I don't like horror." And they were like, "But what's your favorite type of horror?" Sir, I don't know how to explain more clearly.
I ended up because of the culture I lived in for so long, I ended up seeing a lot of horror movies. Like I was ranting about I never watched these. I would never get around to watching these. It's not a thing I enjoy. The only ones I've seen are like Ju-on and The House of a Thousand Corpses and the oh yeah, I saw Freddy versus Jason and and the remake of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and
you scarred me for life describing Event Horizon, and
that was awful. Oh, I hated that movie. I have a new least favorite movie of all time though, and it's Old Boy.
oh my god, I'm so sorry. I would have warned you if I knew you were thinking about watching it.
And I would have warned you. It's not something I've seen recently.
Okay.
It's just like newer than Event Horizon. We saw it because we kept hearing about that fight scene, and it left scars on my soul that will never ever heal.
Yeah. I watched it probably about a decade ago when I was in film school because, yeah. Oh, it's a great movie. The cinematography, whatever, is very artistic.
One?
Huh?
There's two Old Boys, right? This is the one that's like Korean?
Yes, I watched the Korean version. It was before the other one came out.
It was 10 years ago. I thought that was recent.
Kit and I were both in film school, so it was a while ago. Let me double check.
It's probably the same one if it scarred us both so deeply. I definitely didn't watch it a decade ago. Or did I?
So the Korean version came out in 2003.
Wow.
The remake, directed by Spike Lee, came out in 2013.
I think that's the one I saw. It was still horrifying.
Yes. Yeah. I actually was just talking to someone about that movie who knows my taste in movies, who's like, "You watched Old Boy? You should have never watched that." And I was like, I agree.
Yeah, everything about it made me sick to my stomach. Every single moment of that movie was insulting and degrading and horrifying. And it just kept getting worse.
Mostly what I remember about the original is the ending. That's plenty, I assure you.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's not talk about it.
Yeah, let's not talk about that anymore. I have been watching a lot of Rachel Maxey. And I've been watching a lot of...
That's why I want my hair curled. She's so influential.
I've also been watching... I'm really into... well, I always liked binging with Bobbish. Baddish, whatever. Baddish. But now that he's got Sola on there, I really like her show a lot.
Stump Sola is one of my favorite bits now.
It's so good.
Like, you really didn't have to just use what was in the box. And she's like, no, I want to use just what was in the box. And he's like,
but nobody told you to do that. Like, that's an extra challenge that absolutely no one asked for. And she's like, oh, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's been my favorite.
Oh my god, this is good.
I think That one or the like bodega episode was also one of my favorites.
I think I missed that one.
She does a tasting menu with only things that she bought at the bodega, like at the 7-Eleven, basically.
All right. I think some of her episodes are too long for like it's the last thing I watch at night, and I'm like, 36 minutes, no. But
It's worth the investment. I also quite enjoyed the most recent one, which was Scary Candy.
I haven't watched it yet. I'm looking forward to it.
I get real excited when they have a new episode out, especially just because I know that she was so far from getting the treatment and attention she deserved at her old job. It just makes me so happy. She's
Right?
got her own kitchen in his basement now.
Bon Appetit broke up so abruptly, and then you learn about all of the bad stuff that was going on, and you're like, oh. At first, I
Yeah.
thought it was like Cracked, where everything was fine, but the parent company was like, "Hey, you're not worth this money." And then 3 years later, come back like, "Oh, whoops, we're sorry, we fucked it up. Let's try and pretend that never happened." And it's like,
Yeah. No, it's more like BuzzFeed where the parent company is treating people terribly and they just all of their good talent slowly seeps away.
yeah, they don't want to be treated that way.
Shockingly. I'm also watching the Kitchen and Jorn show, which is Kristen and Jen from Ladylike have now formed their own channel.
Awesome.
They're in a quarantine bubble together with Kristen's non-binary partner,
Cool.
and which is adorable. It's non-binary representation, like for they're probably in their like late 30s, and you don't see a lot of that, and
Right?
especially like trans femme, non-binary, like it just doesn't happen. So anyway, so that's really cool, but they're also really, really funny, and they do things like taste test Trader Joe's baked goods.
Nice. I like I've been enjoying this month. The Channel Awesome is doing a like review of all the Twilight Zone episodes from the first season, and it's really clever and fun. It's a lot like Batman, only Twilight Zone.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember what else I was going to tell you like 5 minutes ago was have I told you about my Halloween costume?
Mm-mm.
So I'm going to dress up for Halloween to be in my house at work on my computer, but whatever. I'm going to do it. Because someone on Tumblr posted a piece of fan art of queer Harley Quinn.
Oh yeah, you did tell me about queer
Yeah.
Quinn.
Yeah,
Yes.
looks exactly like me. So I have all the stuff for it. The hair dye is in our mailbox, but I just haven't been out to the mailbox because it's been fucking cold.
Right.
And the really hilarious part about dressing up as someone who you already look and dress like is that it does not currently, like, I tried on all the pieces and I was like, do you like my costume? And Sandy was like,
You're what now?
you're in costume?
I've got options. I'm not going to work on my own costume. So I'm gonna go steampunk or pirate or hobbit or mod.
Those are all good options.
Right. I've got plenty of options. And that way I can focus on maybe getting Avi's EV Viking tunic finished or something like that, and he can be in a new costume. And Ethy would like very much. We got almost done with her. You know those little furry worms with teeny tiny googly eyes that have like an invisible streak? Okay, so she wants that for a costume, and we got 3/4 of the way done 6 months ago and then stopped. So I'm like, I could kind of sort of put the zipper in and the googly eyes on, and we'd be almost done.
So she wants to be one of those, or she wants a costume made out of those?
She wants to be one, a giant one. She saw a TikTok, I think, of someone in a costume of that dancing with like black leggings on, so they weren't very obvious, and they were just flopping about. And she was like, "That's me. That is me. That is my animal. What is it? Totem animal." I have to have that costume. And yeah, if there were 40 hours in every day, I could get the costumes done and work on the paintings and do the homeschooling and do all the June cleavering. As it is, something's going to have to give, but I don't know what yet.
Well, there are not 40 hours in every day, so don't be hard on yourself.
Thank you. I feel like this is one of those what will I wish in 40 years I'd gotten done, and that always devolves to make the holiday awesome for the kids. Someone asked me how I feel about turning 40, and I'm like, I feel like I almost know what I'm doing.
Oh, that sounds nice. I'll look forward to that.
It's so much closer. Like, you're not halfway through. You're more like barely starting, because now I finally have all the skills I need to do all the quests and do all this the shit that would have things that would have taken 5 years when I was 20 will take maybe 5 months now, and I'm like, "Oh, I can get a lot done."
Sounds lovely.
Yep. Let us go to Middle-earth.
Let us go to Middle-earth.
I haven't talked to Ruthenium since the last time we were here. She's still there. Do you have any... I don't know how I feel about her face. It's fun. It's kind of... it's inhuman, and that's what I'm aiming for, is something that would definitely look like it belongs in a fantasy world, but I don't know, man. Does she need her pupils back?
Maybe it's... I think... Is she looking up?
No, I know that's her face is tilted up, but she's meant to be looking at you.
Yeah, I think that's not very easy to tell that. She definitely, her face is tilted up, but then she looks like she's also looking up.
Yeah.
So some pupils might help with that.
And
Yeah.
I fix her arms because they're the length is going out, but I'm trying to foreshorten, and I'm like, if I'm foreshortening, they're way too long. So I need to recreate this background and pull the arms in so that they're doing more of this. And
Oh yeah.
I can do this.
You can. I have no doubts. Let me see.
My exciting new paint set.
Ooh, pretty.
I've got 4 of them. I pull out the metallics because the metallics will not translate well when we try to photograph these fuckers.
Yeah, they're definitely in person only.
Yeah.
Well, let me see where we were at. Yes. Mary and Pippin were talking about what happened, and they were saying that the horns chased the orcs away, and that they were far down the valley in the morning, or at any rate, there was a shadow there that one couldn't see through.
Yes.
Side note, I made the terrible mistake of watching a scary story earlier today.
No.
I really shouldn't have done that.
Those of us who have imaginations should stay the hell away from horror in all of its guises.
Sometimes my brain's like, it'll be fine. It was not fine. Anyway, that's what that makes me think of with the trees chasing people.
Right.
With a story I read called "Are You Afraid of What's in the Forest?" Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm.
As well I should be.
As soon as Saruman had sent off all his army, our turn came. Treebeard put us down and went up to the gates and began hammering on the doors and calling for Saruman. Oh, wait, we already read this bit. A punch from an Ent fist crumples up iron like thin tin.
Yeah.
When Treebeard had got a few arrows in him, he began to warm up, to get positively hasty, as he would say. He let out a great hum hum, and a dozen more Ents came striding up. An angry Ent is terrifying. Their fingers and their toes just freeze onto rock, and they tear it up like bread crust. It was like watching the work of great tree roots in 100 years, all packed into a few moments. They pushed, pulled, tore, shook, and hammered, and clang bang, crash crack, in 5 minutes they had these huge gates just lying in ruin, and some were already beginning to eat into the walls, like rabbits in a sand pit. I I always, when I read that line, think that he's saying that rabbits eat sand, and I get very confused for a second.
What is wrong with the rabbits of the Shire, man?
Turns out that rabbits was actually the Hobbit name for a very unrelated species.
Up there's Mom calling at the end of the day to say happy birthday. I hear the phone.
I'm assuming you're going to call her back.
I will totally call her back.
I mean, as opposed to picking up right now, not as in like not calling Mom back. Anyway, love you, Mom. Hi.
Love you, Mom.
I knew Robin was going to call you back. Anyway, I don't know what Saruman thought was happening, but anyway, he did not know how to deal with it. His wizardry may have been falling off lately, of course. But anyway, I think he has not much grit, not much plain courage, alone in a tight place, without a lot of slaves and machines and things, if you know what I mean. Very different from old Gandalf. I wonder if his fame was not all along mainly due to his cleverness in settling at Isengard. No, said Aragorn. Once he was as great as his fame made him. His knowledge was deep, his thought was subtle, and his hands marvelously skilled, and he had a power over the minds of others. The wise he could persuade, and the smaller folk he could daunt. That power he certainly still keeps. There are not many in Middle-earth that I should say were safe if they were left alone to talk with him, even now when he has suffered a defeat. Gandalf, Elrond, and Galadriel, perhaps, now that his wickedness has been laid bare, but very few others. The Ents are safe, said Pippin. He seems at one time to have got round them, but never again. And anyway, he did not understand them, and he made the great mistake of leaving them out of his calculations. He had no plan for them, and there was no time to make any once they had set to work. As soon as our attack began, the few remaining rats in Isengard started bolting through every hole that the Ents made. The Ents let the men go after they had questioned them, 2 or 3 dozen only down at this end. I don't think many orc folk of any size escaped. Not from the Huorns. There was a wood full of them all round Isengard by that time, as well as those that had gone on down the valley. When the Ents had reduced a large part of the southern walls to rubbish, and what was left of his people had bolted and deserted him, Saruman fled in a panic. He seems to have been at the gates when we arrived. I expect he came to watch his splendid army march out. When the Ents broke their way in, he left in a hurry. They did not spot him at first. But the night had opened out, and there was a great light of stars, quite enough for Ents to see by, and suddenly Quickbeam gave a cry, "The Tree Killer! The Tree Killer!" Quickbeam is a gentle creature, but he hates Saruman all the more fiercely for that. His people suffered cruelly from orc axes. He leapt down the path from the inner gate, and he can move like wind when he's roused. There was a pale figure hurrying away in and out of the shadows of the pillars, and it had nearly reached the stairs to the tower door. But it was a near thing. Quickbeam was so hot after him that he was within a step or two of being caught and strangled when he slipped in through the door. I'm just making sure I didn't miss anything there. When Saruman was back in Orthanc, it was not long before he set some of his precious machinery to work. By that time there were many Ents inside Isengard. Some had followed Quickbeam, and others had burst in from the north and east. They were roaming about and doing a great deal of damage. Suddenly up came fires and foul fumes. The vents and shafts all over the plain began to spout and belch. Several of the Ents got scorched and blistered. One of them, Beachbone I think he was called, a very tall, handsome Ent, got caught in a spray of some liquid fire and burned like a torch. A horrible sight. That sent them mad. I thought they had been really roused before, but I was wrong. I saw what it was like at last. It was staggering. They roared and boomed and trumpeted until stones began to crack and fall at the mere noise of them. Mary and I lay on the ground and stuffed our cloaks into our ears. I'm picturing, I've been watching a lot of weird things on YouTube today specifically, and I was watching something about the Dyatlov Pass incident.
The what?
The Dyatlov Pass incident.
No clue.
This is way off topic, but hey, welcome to this podcast. There
Hey.
was in the 50s in Russia, there was a group of very experienced hikers that were on a hike in the Ural Mountains. And in the middle of the night one night, they all cut their way out of their tent from the inside and ran away with no clothes, no shoes, and they all ended up dying. Some of them from hypothermia, some of them fell and had injuries. And one of the theories as to why, no one really knows what happened, but one of the theories is that the wind on the mountainside where they were was causing infrasound. So that's the really, really low vibration sound that can cause people to feel irrational fear and anxiety and panic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm thinking of the Ents just being so loud, and the idea of them booming in infrasound and terrorizing all other living creatures.
Yeah, that is an awesome image.
Right.
When we lived at the south end of town, every so often we were close enough to the artillery ranges for Fort Carson would occasionally just do artillery testing. And it was close enough to the house that you could not hear it, but you could feel it. So there were days when the entire family was just nervous and restless and freaked out. And we would know why, because you could feel the occasional, in your gut, and you knew that was what was going on. And yeah, and it would last all day. Even if the firing didn't, the feeling did.
Oof.
Yeah,
it's a really weird thing. It's one of the potential explanations for some haunting experiences also.
Oh yeah.
And they also worked it, not exactly infrasound, but something close is in the soundtrack for Silence of the Lambs.
Oh.
When we talked about sound mixing in film school, that was one of the clips that they played for us, was the scene where Clarice meets Hannibal Lecter. And the teacher was like, what you don't realize you're hearing is this very, very low note through this entire scene that makes you feel very uncomfortable.
Clever sound engineers. We love you. You are evil. I keep hearing the phone ring. I'm like, oh, now y'all want to wish me happy birthday. Fuck off. I didn't. You'll have to wait your turn.
Yeah. I was going to say, I didn't call you earlier in the day, but that's because I knew I was podcasting with you.
Exactly. I don't have a problem with not getting phone calls. I do have a problem with feeling like I'm inadvertently being rude to someone. That's why I sound so aggro.
You're fine. You're fine. We're millennials. We don't pick up the phone. Everyone knows that.
That's right. Being born in 1980 is the best, because when I want to be, I'm Gen X, and when I want to be, I'm millennial. I am all of these things.
Indeed.
The bridge between the worlds.
Ain't much of a difference between a bridge and a wall.
Without me right in the middle, baby, you wouldn't be nothing at all. Anyway, talk to me about and adversaries. Tearing down a wall. Exactly.
Totally. Okay, so Pippin and Mary are laying on the ground with their cloaks stuffed into their ears, freaking out because of all of the infrasound. we have decided.
Yes.
Round and round the rock of Orthanc the Ents went striding and storming like a howling gale, breaking pillars, hurling avalanches of boulders down the shaft, tossing up huge slabs of stone into the air like leaves. The tower was in the middle of a spinning whirlwind. I saw iron posts and blocks of masonry go rocketing up hundreds of feet and smash against the windows of Orthanc. But Treebeard kept his head. He had not had any burns, luckily. He did not want his folk to hurt themselves in their fury, and he did not want Saruman to escape out of some hole in the confusion. Many of the Ents were hurling themselves against the Orthanc rock, but that defeated them. It is very smooth and hard. Some wizardry is in it, perhaps, older and stronger than Saruman's. Anyway, they could not get a grip on it, or make a crack in it, and they were bruising and wounding themselves against it. So Treebeard went out into the ring and shouted. His enormous voice rose above all the din. There was a dead silence suddenly. In it we heard a shrill laugh from a high window in the tower. That had a queer effect on the Ents. They had been boiling over. Now they became cold, grim as ice, and quiet. They left the plain and gathered round Treebeard, standing quite still. He spoke to them, for a little, in their own language. I think he was telling them of a plan he had made in his old head long before. Then they just faded silently away in the gray light. Day was dawning by that time. They set a watch on the tower, I believe, but the watchers were so well hidden in shadows and kept so still that I could not see them. The others went away north. All that day they were busy out of sight. Most of the time we were left alone. It was a dreary day. That's a Hobbity understatement for you. We're alone in the ruins of a orc versus Ent battlefield. It was
sorry.
dreary.
Dreary, yes. Yes. Dreary. Not horrifying or terrifying, just dreary.
We had just seen a bunch of creatures out of legend completely destroy giant rocks and towers and throw stones around and nearly destroy everything in their path.
Yep.
It was dreary. It was just boring, you know.
Yeah.
It was bleak.
Bleak. Bleak buffalo.
How bleak was my puberty?
Battlefield.
Let's see, where were we? It was a dreary day, and we wandered about a bit, though we kept out of view of the windows of Orthanc as much as we could. They stared at us so threateningly. A good deal of the time we spent looking for something to eat. And also we sat and talked, wondering what was happening away south in Rohan and what had become of all the rest of our company. Every now and then we could hear in the distance the rattle and fall of stone, and thudding noises echoing in the hills. In the afternoon we walked round the circle and went to have a look at what was going on. There was a great shadowy wood of horns at the head of the valley, and another round the northern wall. We did not dare to go in. There was a rending, tearing noise of work going on inside. Ents and Huorns were digging great pits and trenches, and making great pools and dams, gathering all the waters of the Eisen and every other spring and stream that they could find. We left them to it.
You know, I know I kind of preferred the movie version where it's Saruman who dammed the river and the Ents that freed the river. Like,
yeah, I think that makes more sense.
Right?
I think there just wasn't a lot of, like, they weren't really doing a super ton of, well, I guess they were doing some dams and, like, hydroelectric stuff, but not that much, you know?
It wasn't quite as much of a ecological issue then, perhaps.
Yeah.
I don't know. Or not one that he was paying attention to.
Could be that also. All right, where was I? At dusk, Treebeard came back to the gate. He was humming and booming to himself. Also, it wouldn't be cinematically paced to be like, we had half of the battle and then we stopped for a day and built a dam and then we had the other half.
Right?
He was humming and booming to himself and seemed pleased. He stood and stretched his great arms and legs and breathed deep. I asked him if he was tired. Tired? He said. Tired? Well, no, not tired, but stiff. I need a good draft of Ent wash. We've worked hard. We've done more stone cracking and earth gnawing today than we have done in many a long year before. But it is nearly finished. When night falls, do not linger near this gate or in the old tunnel. Water may come through, and it will be foul water for a while until all the filth of Saruman is washed away. Then Eisen can run clean again. He began to pull down a bit more of the walls in a leisurely sort of way, just to amuse himself.
I love that image too.
Right. Just like picking it at styrofoam or something, where you're just sort of like picking something apart.
Dum, dum, dum.
We were just wondering whether it would be safe to lie and get some sleep when the most amazing thing of all happened. There was the sound of a rider coming swiftly up the road. Mary and I lay quiet, and Treebeard hid himself in the shadows under the arch. Suddenly a great horse came striding up, like a flash of silver. It was already dark, but I could see the rider's face clearly. It seemed to shine, and all his clothes were white. I just sat up, staring with my mouth open. I tried to call out, and couldn't. But there was no need. He halted just by us and looked down at us. Gandalf, I said at last, but my voice was only a whisper. Did he say, "Hello, Pippin, this is a pleasant surprise"? No, indeed, he said. Get up, you tomfool of a Took. Where in the name of wonder in all this ruin is Treebeard? I want him, quick. Gandalf, you're the worst.
You're back from the dead. He thought you were dead. He mourned you.
Yeah, God knows why. He's the worst.
Yeah.
We do not stand Gandalf in this house. Anyway. Treebeard heard his voice and came out of the shadows at once, and there was a strange meeting. I was surprised because neither of them seemed surprised at all. Gandalf obviously expected to find Treebeard here, and Treebeard might almost have been loitering about near the gates on purpose to meet him. Yet we had told the old Ent all about Moria. But then I remembered a queer look he gave us at the time. I can only suppose that he had seen Gandalf or had some news of him, but would not say anything in a hurry. Don't be hasty is his motto, but nobody, not even elves, will say much about Gandalf's movements when he is not there.
Because he's a fucking punk.
I think it is an interesting point sort of strategically, though. Like, Gandalf is kind of their Deus Ex Machina, ace in the hole, and so when he's not around, nobody will say anything about him having been there, or where he might have gone, or when he might be back. They're just like, Gandalf,
Yeah.
doesn't ring a bell. Anyway, would you like some lunch?
Yeah, I have a point. Yeah.
Mithran who?
Oh.
Definitely thought you were drinking your paint water there for a second.
Yeah, no. I also
Not
have
this time.
that stuck my paintbrush in my tea today.
Good.
It makes you wonder if that's all just persona. Like, he knows he's sort of the general of the war, and if they want to have any kind of opacity, it's got to just be him.
Well, because everyone else just goes around announcing their name and ancestry and the names of their swords to every fucking person they meet. So,
and their plans and their backstory, yeah.
And what they're here for and where they're going next. OPSEC, not a thing. Not a thing in Middle Earth.
Right. We don't do subtle. I, Aragorn, son of 1,000 kings, the hope of the West, the flame of the great, the heir of Numenor, do not do subtle.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a canon quote. Yes, exactly. Let's see. Gandalf, said Treebeard. I'm glad you have come. Wood and water, stock and stone I can master, but there is a wizard to manage here. Treebeard, said Gandalf, I need your help. You have done much, but I need more. I have about 10,000 orcs to manage.
Fine, you win. Jesus.
That's a pretty great line, though. I gotta give Gandalf that.
Right?
Then those two went off and had a council together in some corner. It must have seemed very hasty to Treebeard, for Gandalf was in a tremendous hurry, and was already talking at a great pace before they passed out of hearing. Sure, Treebeard he talks to.
Mm-hmm.
They were only away a matter of minutes, perhaps a quarter of an hour. Then Gandalf came back to us, and he seemed relieved, almost merry. He did say he was glad to see us then. Abusive.
Yep.
But Gandalf, I cried, where have you been? And have you seen the others? Wherever I've been, I am back, he answered in the genuine Gandalf manner.
Right.
Oh, God. So 2 days ago, this is relevant. 2 days ago, my alarm went off, like my calendar alarm on my phone early in the morning, and it woke me up, and I was like, oh, God, what have I forgotten? And I pick up my phone, and I open my calendar, and it says, I will show you guys exactly what it said. 10 a.m. Saturday, October the 24th. Gandalf gives a straight answer.
Why is that a thing?
I don't.
Joking about it. I didn't know you'd put it in there.
I didn't either. I forgot. It's funny now, but I was so mad at myself.
No.
Robin appears to have accidentally hung up on us, but while she's gone, yes, that was Rivendell. That was March or possibly April. Hi, Mama. And I set an alarm on my phone for it. So yes.
I apologize.
Did you accidentally hang up?
I accidentally hung up. Was I missing? Could you tell?
Well, you did disappear, yes.
Yes. Yeah. How long ago were we in Rivendell?
March or April, I think. Also, Mom left a comment. She says, good to see and hear us.
Yay! Love you, Mom!
Anyway, that was the one and only time, so it is worth remembering, but oh my God. Can't believe I did that.
That's hilarious. Sorry that you didn't. Sorry that you got woke up with a panic, but wow. That is awesome.
Oh, goodness. All right, where am I? Oh, yes. Wherever I have been, I am back, he answered in the genuine Gandalf manner.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I have seen some of the others, but news must wait. This is a perilous night, and I must ride fast. But the dawn may be brighter, and if so, we shall meet again. Take care of yourselves and keep away from Orthanc. Goodbye.
Is this face better?
Yes. The eyes are definitely more, like, it's easier to tell where she's looking.
Oh, I can see something that I did not see before. Thank you for letting me do that upside downness. All right.
Upside down pictures.
It really does help. Yep.
Let's see, where am I? Keep away from Orthanc. Treebeard was very thoughtful after Gandalf had gone. He had evidently learnt a lot in a short time and was digesting it. He looked at us and said, well, I find you are not such hasty folk as I thought. You said much less than you might, and no more than you should. This is a bundle of news and no mistake. Well, now Treebeard must get busy again. Before he went, we got a little news out of him, and it did not cheer us up at all. But for the moment we thought more about you three than about Frodo and Sam, or about poor Boromir. For we gathered that there was a great battle going on, or soon would be, and that you were in it, and might never come out of it. Huons will help, said Treebeard. Then he went away, and we did not see him again until this morning. Next section's short. I think I can get through it.
Yay!
It was deep night. We lay on top of a pile of stone and could see nothing beyond it. Mist or shadows blotted out everything like a great blanket all round us. The air seemed hot and heavy, and it was full of rustlings, creakings, and a murmur like voices passing. I think that hundreds more of the horns must have been passing by to help in the battle. Later, there was a great rumble of thunder away south, and flashes of lightning far away across Rohan. Every now and then we could see mountain peaks, miles and miles away, stab out suddenly, black and white, and then vanish. And behind us there were noises like thunder in hills, but different. At times the whole valley echoed. It must have been about midnight when the Ents broke the dams and poured all the gathered waters through a gap in the northern wall down into Isengard. The horn dark had passed, and the thunder had rolled away. The moon was sinking behind the western mountains. Isengard began to fill up with black creeping streams and pools. They glittered in the last light of the moon as they spread over the plain. Every now and then the waters found their way down into some shaft or spout hole. Great white steams hissed up. Smoke rose in billows. There were explosions and gusts of fire. One great coil of vapor went whirling up, twisting round and round Orthanc, until it looked like a tall peak of cloud, fiery underneath and moonlit above. And still more water poured in, until at last Isengard looked like a huge flat saucepan, all steaming and bubbling.
Saucepan, Babish. Saucepan.
Okay, I did tell you I've been watching a lot of it lately. I didn't even know that I had said that. Saucepan. Sorry, guys. Next thing you know, I'll be tiny whisking things.
There, I would not fault you. It looks like enormous fun. Tiny. The tinier the whisk, the bigger the fun.
Okay. Anyway.
Anyway.
We saw a cloud of smoke and steam from the south last night when we came to the mouth of Nancuronir, said Aragorn. We feared that Saruman was brewing some new devilry for us. Not he, said Pippin. He was probably choking and not laughing any more. By the morning, yesterday morning, the water had sunk down into all the holes, and there was a dense fog. We took refuge in that guardroom over there, and we had rather a fright. The lake began to overflow and pour out through the old tunnel, and water was rapidly rising up the steps. We thought we were going to get caught like orcs in a hole, but we found a winding stair at the back of the storeroom that brought us out on top of the arch. It was a squeeze to get out, as the passages had been cracked and half blocked with fallen stone near the top. There we sat, high above the floods, and watched the drowning of Isengard. The Ents kept on pouring in more water, till all the fires were quenched and every cave filled. The fog slowly gathered together and steamed up into a huge umbrella of cloud. It must have been a mile high. In the evening there was a great rainbow over the eastern hills, and then the sunset was blotted out by a thick drizzle on the mountainsides. It all went very quiet. A few wolves howled mournfully far away. The Ents stopped the inflow in the night, and sent the Isen back into its old course. And that was the end of it all.
It's too bad we, the readers, didn't get to be there for it. Lucky Mary and Pippin were willing to tell us about it.
And that's how Tolkien does battles.
Most of them, yeah. I don't know if he just doesn't like battles.
That would be my guess.
Right?
I imagine he definitely didn't think they were the interesting part.
Right? How people describe them, though, that might be interesting. Sure.
Sure, could be.
Yeah. At least that way you've got your people talking. The people that you love. You are going to go eat something, am I right?
You are correct.
Jason made my favorite chili for dinner tonight.
Oh, that sounds delicious.
Yeah.
Man, we ordered from Chili's a little bit ago, which I normally wouldn't, but, we're suburbia, whatever. Anyway, the point is, we ordered from Chili's. I ordered chili and a salad, and they only sent me the salad. I was like,
No.
you guys, it's in your name. So yeah.
You had one job.
One job.
I can't remember who's next to Ruthenium, but that's her.
Lovely. Oh, well, I love you very much. This is an internet hug.
Oh, hang on. I need to put my stuff down. Ugh. Internet hug. Yay! E.T. Oh no.
This is the world's most unsatisfying high five we just did. Hang on, wait a second. I think if I did this and then I did that, it would.
Oh, that's a good point. Already, and hang on.
Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1.
One more try. We can do this.
I doubt it, but okay. Hang on. Which? There we go. Okay. All right.
3, 2, 1, go. That must be because of the delay.
I think so, yeah. We're not going to get in sync.
Hugs are better. Thanks for the birthday wishes and present that I'll get someday.
Someday, when I can.
I've got the wishes now.
You've got the wishes now, and I have many things that I would have put in the mail today if I had been able to leave my house.
Fair enough.
But it is cold. So I did.
It is very cold. I do not expect people to leave the house when it is cold. But I will have that book at some point, and I will let you know when I do. I'm sure you'll know when it leaves you. I'll let you know when it gets here.
Checks out.
Right? And someday there will not be a plague, and you can just bring it down in person, and we can hang out, watch Mystery Science Theater the way the gods intended.
You tell them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love you.
I love you too.
Cuidado.
Llamas.
See you Wednesday.
Yes, indeed.